Another fabulous edition of Torah Studies Live. There's a glow in my glasses. I'm going to try to reduce the glare. Okay, so first of all, I need to mention that I am grateful as always to be studying together with you. No lockdown, shelter at home, quarantine can hold us back from studying Torah. We are 19 or 20 strong here, and it is great to be here with you. I will also mention, if you ever have a desire to study Torah or to be inspired, you can always check out our podcast. The podcast name is Knowledge on the Deeper Side, Knowledge on the Deeper Side, and it's available on iTunes, it's available on Google Play, it's available on Spotify. It is a podcast that has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of content. And this past month, while we're still in April, we had our most listens ever. We are over 10,000 for the month, which is for us a very big number. So I encourage you to, at any time that you want to be inspired or study some Torah, you can always listen to one of the classes. Okay, let's jump right in. So this week we actually have a double header. We have two Torah portions, and the portions are Acharei and Kedoshim. The reason why we have a double portion, I think I may have mentioned this last week, but there are in many years, especially when it's not a Jewish leap year, so there are too many portions for not enough weeks. So therefore we double them up and we put certain ones together, not just any ones, but certain themes go together. Last week was a double portion and this week is a double portion. We're going to focus on the second of the two portions, the one that is known as Kedoshim. Now, Kedoshim means holy. And the theme of the Torah portion is what it means to be holy and how to be holy. So tonight in our class, we are going to explore the meaning of holiness. What is holiness? Is holiness the same thing as good? Is it different than good? What is exactly the meaning of holiness? I want to wish a happy Bar Mitzvah Parsha anniversary to David Lazan, who is celebrating the anniversary of his Bar Mitzvah portion. So Mazel Tov to David Lazan, who just informed me on the chat that this is a very special Torah portion. So Kedoshim, God is telling us to be holy. The question is, what does that mean? So in order to jump right in, I am going to share my screen in a moment. Here we go. I am sharing my screen, and in about 3 seconds, you should be able to see my screen. Yes? Did my screen come up? Thumbs up if you can see it. Awesome. Awesome. All right, let's get started. Adina Malka, we just practiced with you. If you will please unmute yourself and read text 1a. This is the opening of the second of the two portions.
And God spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the entire congregation of the children of Israel, and say to them, you shall be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy."
Thank you. Now here's the question. The question is, what does this commandment actually mean? To be holy. If you want to be holy, keep all of the mitzvot, right? Torah and mitzvot are paths to holiness. So the question, and this is a question, it's not my question, it's not an original question, it's a question that pretty much all of the commentaries struggle with. The question is, what exactly does it mean when the Torah is telling us to, quote, be holy? Kedoshim tihiyu, be holy. All of Torah is to be holy. So you're telling me to keep the rest of Torah? That's like, imagine there was a law, and the law said you have to keep all the laws. Do you need a law to tell you to keep the other laws? You just need the laws. Are you with me on that analogy? Yeah? You have, a nation has 1,000 laws in the book, and 1,001 is, by the way, you should keep all the laws. I get it. You gave me all the individual laws. So we have the mitzvah of Shabbat, and the mitzvah of kosher, and the mitzvah of tefillin, and the mitzvah of mezuzah, and the mitzvah of Rosh Hashanah, and Yom Kippur, and Passover, and you have all of these wonderful mitzvot, and then you have another one that says be holy. What does be holy mean? Be holy, like keep all the other ones? I'm already doing the other ones, right? Or they're already included in those specific commandments. So what exactly does it mean? This is going, oh, that's hilarious. David Lazan says, maybe it means social distancing. Be holy means create space, create separation. Although holiness does mean separation, we're going to look at this from a different perspective. Okay, so what we're going to do tonight is look at some of the classic commentaries on this verse, on this mitzvah, on this commandment. When God tells us in this week's Torah portion that's named Kedoshim, which means be holy, Kedoshim to you, you shall be holy. The question we're going to address is, what does it mean? We're going to look at Rashi. We're going to look at Nachmanides Ramban. We're going to look at other commentaries, halachic codifiers. We're going to look at this through a philosophical lens and then through a Jewish spiritual lens as decoded by the works of Kabbalah and Hasidic thought. And by the end of this discussion, hopefully you will be inspired, blown away at the brilliance and depth of Torah scholarship, and motivated to introduce a little bit of more holiness in your own life, as we'll define it tonight. Okay, so again, the question we're at right now is, what does it mean to be holy? How is this a separate commandment in addition to the rest of the commandments that are specific? Now, let's jump right into, Ray, do you have a question or a comment, or no?
Well, I wanted to make a comment about what it means to be holy. It may not be fair because I was at your noon class, but it means be a mensch. It means with honor.
Good. Good. Yeah, excellent. So first of all, I need to thank Ray for reminding me what I said earlier today, and remind all of you that we're doing a daily class at 12 noon each day, Monday through Friday, each of the work days. So join us for midday Torah inspiration. You can find all the information on our website with the link. Now, I did define what it means to be holy earlier today in that class, but tonight we're going in a different direction because Shiv'im Panim La Torah. There are 70 facets to Torah, and the cool thing is, like a diamond, every time you give it a little bit of a turn, there's another sparkle, another illumination of brilliance, of light, of sparkling. The same thing is true with Torah. Every time you examine it, we can discover something new. So let's do this. Let's take a look at this verse with fresh eyes. The question on the table is this a unique commandment? It seems to be something that all of the mitzvot are doing, making us a little bit more holy. So the first commentary we're going to cite, this is text 1b, is going to be Rashi's commentary. Rashi is probably the most famous of the biblical commentaries. Rashi is the most basic of the commentaries. Not to diminish Rashi's commentary. Rashi's commentary is brilliant. It's brilliant in its simplicity, if you will. He gives the simple, maybe not simplicity, maybe straightforwardness. It's simple. It's brilliant in how straightforward it is. So let's continue explanation.
You shall be holy. Separate yourselves from sexual immorality and from sin, for wherever one finds a barrier against immorality, one finds holiness. For example, they, the Kohanim, shall not take in marriage a woman who is a prostitute or one who was profaned. I, God, who sanctifies you, am holy. Also, he shall not profane his offspring. I am God, who sanctifies him. Also, they shall be holy. They shall not take in marriage a woman who is a prostitute or one who was profane.
Thank you. This is basically referring to prohibitions against the Kohen who a Kohen can or cannot marry. I think it may get lost in translation. If you look in the Hebrew, if you can read the Hebrew, it's much easier to decode what Rashi is saying. Rashi is explaining, I just highlighted the word Kedoshim. What does it mean to be holy? And he says holiness is associated with ensuring that one does not fall into immodest, intimate relationships, which makes sense because at the end of the previous portion, Acharei, remember it's a double portion. So immediately before Kedoshim, the second of the two portions, comes a whole list of various incestuous relationships that we are prohibited from engaging in intimate relationships. And the Torah begins this portion, Kedoshim to you, be holy, and Rashi says, what does that mean? It means distance yourself from these types of relationships. And you find this word Kedoshim, or Kadosh, regarding various prohibitions of relationships. For example, right here, Mikadeshchem, So it's about holiness, and it's referring to who not to be in a relationship with. And then you have again the word mekadesho, again the word holy regarding relationships. And the same thing is over here, kedoshim yihiyu, another time that the word kadosh is used holy in the context of relationships. Rashi cites 3 biblical verses, and they're all from Leviticus. Do we have the sources here? We do not have the sources. They're all from Leviticus 21. Where the Torah uses the phrase kadosh or mekadshchem, or with something related to the word holy in reference to relationships and immodest relationships. And therefore, Rashi says, explaining our verse, I'm going to go back to it right here. This was the verse we started with. Rashi explains on the opening verse of our Torah portion, when God says, kedoshim tihiyu, when God says, be holy, right? Hebrew and English. Be holy, it means another commandment regarding our intimate relationships. What does it mean to be holy? It means who we're involved with in a relationship. That's Rashi's commentary. The truth is, we're not going to spend a lot of time on Rashi because I want to go to Ramban, Nachmanides. This is really the one that we're going to spend a little bit more time on. So we saw Rashi. Now let's look at Nachmanides. Ramban, Nachmanides, should not be confused with Rambam, Maimonides. 2 different people. We have Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon, who is Rambam, Maimonides, and Rabbi Moshe ben Nachman, who is Nachmanides. 2 different people, but they lived roughly in the same time. Nachmanides lived a little bit later, but Ramban is also a great commentary. You should know, parenthetically, Nachmanides, Ramban, oftentimes quotes Kabbalah in his commentaries, but in this commentary, he doesn't really go Kabbalistic. He gets very psychological. Before we get into Nachmanides' commentary, I want to share the following idea. Many years ago, they did an experiment. I believe it was at Stanford University. And maybe one of you can corroborate this. They did an experiment called the marshmallow experiment. Have you ever heard of the marshmallow experiment? Yes? Yes? Okay. What was the marshmallow experiment? The marshmallow experiment was they took kids, they studied children. They took children into a room one at a time, and they told the child, look, you have, I might be messing up the quantities, but something like along the lines of, here is a marshmallow, and you can eat it, but if you wait 5 minutes or so, and you don't eat it, then I'll give you an extra marshmallow, and you'll be able to eat 2. If you eat the marshmallow before 5 minutes, then by the time I get back, then you won't get a second marshmallow. You with me? Yes? In other words, can you have some self-control? That was basically the experiment. We're going to give you a marshmallow, and we're going to ask you not to eat it, and if you follow the rules, you'll get rewarded with double the amount. But if you indulge, then you'll get what you get. That's it. That's all you get. You eat what you have, and that's it. And yeah, some of them were more successful than others. I see somebody's chatting. I think it was Dr. Menschel who directed that experiment. Could be. Sounds like a real mensch. That was a joke because his name is. So here's the deal. They did this experiment, and they saw some had more self-control, some had less. Okay, and there's video of this. You can Google it and see it. Whatever. Well, here's the interesting thing. The interesting thing is they tracked these kids as they got older, and they tracked them into adolescence and teenage years and college years and even into adulthood, because this was done, I believe, in the 1960s. So they tracked these children as they matured and became adults, and you know what they found? At least according to my understanding, they found that the children, or the people who as children exhibited more self-control, actually fared better in school, fared better in grade elementary school, fared better in high school, fared better in college, got better jobs, earned more money, were more likely to have successful relationships. In other words, there was a predictor that they discovered. A person, a human being, that knows how to practice self-control is more apt for success in various areas in life. Yes, it might have just been a marshmallow. You're telling me because you didn't eat the marshmallow for 5 or 10 minutes, you're going to make more money? What kind of mishigas is that? It's not about the marshmallow. It's about the self-control. It's about the notion of self-control, which means if a person has discipline, if a person has self-restraint, it goes a long way in many different areas in life. And much success is born of restraint, self-control, and discipline. Does this make sense? Yes? There are those who have pointed out that much of Torah's commandments are about self-control and discipline. Think about the laws of kashrut, the laws of kosher. Many theories. Oh, Dr. Walter Mischel. Nice. That was the name of the doctor. There are those that have pointed out, and I think there's a lot of wisdom to it, and I want you to think about it for a moment, that the laws of Torah are essentially about giving us opportunities to practice self-control and to practice being disciplined human beings. The Torah tells us a very specific diet of what we should eat and what we should not eat. And one might ask the question, who cares? Who cares? Does God really care? Is it that important? There are many ways to answer that question. And whatever I say from this point on does not take away, should not take away, from anything else that's written on this topic from legitimate sources. In addition to all of the other ideas, I'd like to offer one more. And that is, isn't it kind of amazing that the laws of kashrut give us the opportunity every time we put something in our mouths to think and practice discipline? What am I going to eat? What am I not going to eat? When you go grocery shopping, it's an opportunity for self-restraint. What will I purchase? What will I leave behind? Who's it good for? God, maybe? Sure, why not? Who am I to say no? You know who else it's really good for? You and I. It's good to be a disciplined human being. What to eat, what not to eat. Yeah? What to do on Saturdays, what not to do on Saturdays, etc. The list is 613 long. That's how many commandments there are. But the bottom line is, don't worry, I wasn't leaving you. I was just getting a wire from my computer to make sure we don't run out of juice here. The bottom line is, the Torah's commandments are an incredible opportunity to practice self-restraint. But here's the problem. There are many things that are permitted in Torah. Torah says, for example, regarding meat, kosher animal, slaughtered properly, a healthy animal ascertained after it's slaughtered, eliminate the blood, cut only certain parts of that animal, kosher meat. Guess what? Once you have kosher meat, how much can you have? How much can you eat? Is there a limit? Does the Torah say only eat, this much but not indulge? Does the Torah ever put the brakes on the permitted stuff? It doesn't. Which means that it's possible that a person can be a glutton and still be kosher. Is that so kosher though? Is it really kosher to be a glutton with kosher? Nachmanides says this is exactly the meaning of our opening verse. Kedoshim tiyu means, be holy means, kadesh atzmecha b'mutarlach. Sanctify yourself within those things that are permitted. Even the things that are permitted, take it easy. Practice the same self-restraint and discipline. Does it make sense what I'm saying? Yes? Yes? In other words, if we understand the totality of Torah to be speaking of the notion of self-restraint, Nachmanides, what he does here in text 2, which we'll read in a moment, he extends the self-restraint into the area of things that are already kosher, saying even within that realm, we don't have to overindulge. Text number 2, Nachmanides, now we're ready to roll. Donna, if you don't mind, please read text number 2.
Okay. The Torah prescribes certain sexual practices and forbids certain foods. but it permitted relations with one's wife and the consumption of meat and wine. The pleasure seeker may thus find license to be lecherous with his wife, to become a drunk or consume an abundance of meat, or speak profanely, things which are not directly forbidden by the Torah. One might thus excuse his abominable behavior because it is technically falls within the boundaries of the Torah.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I'm going to interrupt for a second. Do you understand what he's saying here? In other words, you can be theoretically within the bounds of Torah, but not be so menshi, but be indulgent, be a manuvel, be abominable. I always think of a snowman, but whatever. All right, continue.
Therefore, this verse, you should be holy, is mentioned after the Torah has detailed all of the activities that are to be curtailed entirely. Separated from overindulgence.
Okay, thank you. Your audio for me, at least cut out for a little bit, but I think we can all see it on the screen. Basically, what Nachmanides is saying is something incredible. This portion is coming after the laws of kashrut, food. It comes after the laws of forbidden relationships. And now it says be holy. What is the meaning of be holy now in this context? It's not about not going over the line of the prohibited. It's within the line of the permitted. Just because this meat is kosher and this wine is kosher doesn't mean that you and I have license to go overboard. We have to draw lines even within the realm of the permitted. Who draws the line? Who dictates the line? Guess what? God says, you be holy. I'm not drawing this line. I already drew lines. I told you what's off bounds and what's okay. Within the okay, you have to draw your line. You have to know what's kosher within the kosher and what's going excessive, what's bleeding into that not so holy territory. That's the meaning of Kedoshim to you. This is one of the most powerful ideas within the verses and their interpretation within this Torah portion. This idea of Nachmanides is absolutely stunning. He takes this idea of Kedoshim to you, which many people have different ideas, many commentators have different understandings, and he says, guess what, folks? It's a general commandment within the permissible. You're allowed to, don't do it anyway. But I'm allowed to, don't do it. Why not? Because you're not living a disciplined life. Take a look at text number 3. Text number 3, which comes from Rabbi Bachaya. He defines, he also is a sage from a long time ago, along the lines of what I was saying before. He explains the value of discipline and self-restraint. Susan, are you up to reading? Yes.
Excuse me. May I ask a question?
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you. I just want to be clear. So I understand that it doesn't say directly anywhere in the Torah about being a glutton.
Right.
But what I think I heard you say is that it's implied that you to find limits because this is all about restraint. Is that correct?
That's exactly how Nachmanides, the great biblical commentary, explains our opening verse of this Torah portion, which says, be holy. What does it mean to be holy? What a vague commandment. He says, no, it's not so vague. Be holy means, Kadesh atzmacha b'mutar lach. Be holy in the permitted realm. In other words, draw lines. Be modest even though you're allowed to. Just because you're allowed to doesn't mean you have to, and certainly doesn't mean that you have to overindulge. So you got it exactly. Is this Stephanie? I can't see.
Yes.
Okay.
Hi. Yes.
Hey,
Yeah.
Stephanie.
Yes.
Yes, you got
Hi.
it exactly 100% correct. That's how Nachmanides explains the opening verse of our Torah portion. Okay, let's jump into Susan. If you don't mind, please read text number 3 from Rabbeinu Bachaya.
A wise person ought to break and overcome his desires. Breaking one's desires ought to be something cherished. Thus, King Solomon said, desire becomes pleasure to the soul. That is, a desire overcome is something sweet to the wise. Now, from where do we derive that one who follows the desires of the heart transgresses the entire Torah? King Solomon revealed this idea to us when he said, "He who is separated seeks lust. In all sound wisdom he is exposed." In other words, one who chases pleasures finds himself separated. He will be left alone, for all will avoid him due to his wicked ways. Therefore, the Torah has commanded us to refrain from desires, even permissible ones, as the rabbis of blessed memory said, "Sanctify yourself by refraining from that which is forbidden to you. Anyone who refrains from the fulfillment of pleasure is called holy."
Okay, I can't, thank you, I can't fathom why they translated this word as forbidden. It goes against the whole point. I'm sorry, you read it correctly, Susan. I'm just, and I missed it when I was reviewing this class. It's stunning, this typo here. The whole point is sanctify yourself by refraining from that which is permitted to you. Not forbidden. The forbidden stuff, of course, you can't do. It's about even the permitted. If you look in the Hebrew is, for those that know Hebrew, kadesh atzmacha b'mutar lach. Mutar lach means permitted. Mutar is permitted. Asur is forbidden. This is permitted. We're talking here. This is a major typo, and it reverses the meaning of this whole point. But we know the truth. What Rabbeinu Bachai is saying is, like we said before, a wise person, a good person is somebody who knows how to draw the line even when they're allowed to. Just because the ice cream is kosher doesn't mean you need to eat both tubs of ice cream in one sitting, right? Just because something is permitted doesn't mean we have to overindulge. That is not the way of the wise. Again, some say that the whole entirety of Torah is about creating an atmosphere of discipline and self-control, which is beneficial on a very human level in many different areas. So some have said that that's the whole purpose of the entire Torah. But when it comes to this, it's very clear that this is what this is about. Kadesh Ashkel Mutalach means even in the realm of the permitted, don't go overboard, draw the line. Now, in addition to all that we've said so far, the Rabbi Elazar ben Moshe Azikri from the Kitzer Sefer Charedim explains that this is an actual mitzvah. And Mark, I meant to reply to you before, but I think this is what you were talking about. So you know what, Mark? Unmute yourself and indulge in text number 4, please. I'm referring, for those that don't know what I'm talking about, Mark messaged me about chickens, and now we have the text about chickens.
Right. We are commanded to refrain even from the permissible, to not feverishly pursue desires and excessive sensuality like chickens. As the verse states, you shall be holy.
Listen, I don't know enough about chickens, clearly, but here's the deal. According to our sages, chickens are very, amorous, or whatever it is. The bottom line is, we are meant to be in control. We're not meant to be out of control, indulgent, gluttonous on whatever level it is. We're meant to be in control, and that's the meaning of Kedoshim to you. For the prohibited stuff, we have the specific prohibitions. 365 things the Torah says don't do. But what about all the things that we can do? That's what we have Kedoshim to you for. For all the stuff you can do, there's also an app for that. Take it easy. Don't go out of control. Right? Don't go meshugeh. Kedoshim to you. Keep it holy. Text number 5, Sefer HaChinuch, talks about the idea of if we do indulge after the permitted, then this is in violation of what it says in the Shema. V'lo sasuru achrei levavchem achrei einechem. The Torah says, don't, in Deuteronomy, and we say it's in the Shema, it says, do not go astray after your heart, and after your eyes and after your heart. So here we go. Look at this. The Sefer HaChinuch, Mitzvah 387, text 5 says the following. Mike, are you up to reading? Oh, I realize we have 2 mics. Mike Carter, are you up to reading?
I'm here, Rabbi. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. Are you up to reading text 5, one who follows?
Sure. One who follows the lead of the eyes and chases after worldly desires by engaging excessively in worldly pleasures for no higher purpose, such as keeping healthy so as to better serve God, but only for self-indulgence, such a person continually transgresses this commandment.
So thank you. He says, the Sefer HaChinuch says, not only is it a positive commandment to rein it in, to create some restraints in ourselves, but it's a violation of a negative commandment if we don't. Because what does it mean in the Shema when we say, in Deuteronomy, when the Torah says, do not follow your eyes and heart to go astray after them? What does it mean? Not the prohibited stuff. That's prohibited anyway. It's telling us don't go astray after the permitted stuff to go too indulgent. Okay, and finally, the last thing is, this is from Hayom Yom, the Rebbe's daily diary of insight, of Hasidic and mystical wisdom, a thought for each day. This is the 25th of Adar 2. This is what the Rebbe writes in the calendar entry for this day. Let's see, who should we ask to read it? Ray, please, if you don't mind, please unmute yourself and read this one. This is fantastic, one of my favorites.
And the Chassid, Rabbi Mordechai Horodoker, related the first aphorism we heard from the Alter Rebbe when we arrived in Liafna was, what is forbidden, and what is permitted is unnecessary.
Look at that. And it's in Yiddish. Let's read the Yiddish, right? If you're brave enough, you can follow me along in the Yiddish. Was men tarnet, tarmenit. What you can't, you can't. What's forbidden is forbidden. Und was men mag, darf man nicht. What you can't. The Rabbi Mordechai Horodoker was a great chassid, a great student of the Alter Rebbe, the founder of Chabad. And this is what he's saying. When we first went to our Rebbe, to our teacher, the Alter Rebbe, the great founder of Chabad, what was the first thing he taught us? Was men tarnet tarmenit, und was men mag darf man it. What is forbidden is off limits, and what's permitted, you also don't need. In other words, only what is absolutely necessary, but no indulgence. But at this point, you probably get the point. The point is, according to Nachmanides, according to the Sefer HaChinuch, according to the Alter Rebbe, according to others that I forgot already the names of who said the quotes, according to all of these wonderful sources and countless others, Torah reminds us at the beginning of this Torah portion that was memeg darf man nicht. What you're allowed to, take it easy on. Don't indulge. You might be allowed to. No one said it's a mitzvah to. It doesn't become like you have to eat all of the... I don't know why I'm picking on eating. It's not only about eating. It's about anything. Right? Just because you're allowed to doesn't mean you should indulge. It's not good. It's not wise. It's not smart. It's not holy, etc. All right. So now you might be wondering. Now you might be thinking. I don't usually speak about myself in third person, but here we go. You might be thinking, Rabbi, are you trying to take all the fun away from life? Are you telling me we can't enjoy life and can't enjoy food and other things? What? Like you have to only have that which you need to survive? What a miserable existence. Is this what Torah is really... Be holy means be miserable. Are you kidding me? Forget it. So here's what I want to explain. The rest of the class is to better explain what this all means in a practical way and why it's so important. It's not just, they used to say about the NFL, when sports was still a thing, they used to call the NFL cynically the no fun league. I don't know if you know sports, you know that NFL stands for the National Football League. But the National Football League has had many rules over the years that takes, according to some players and fans, takes the fun out. Like end zone touchdown celebrations as of a few years ago. Well, I think they changed the rule, but a few years ago they were banned and they were punishable by a penalty. And so they used to call it the no fun league. So the question is Torah, is Judaism the NFL? Is it the no fun league? Like you can't enjoy life? Let's go a little bit deeper. Before we go deeper, I want to make sure that I've said hi to everybody. in this class because I realized that I said hi to the first few people, but I didn't say hi to everybody. So, Joy, hi. Amy, I already said hi to Amy and Amy, Mike and Eli. Marnine, hi. Sandrine, hi.
Hello?
Alex, hi. Karen, hi. Steve, hi. I think I said hi to David and Donna and Fred. If I didn't, I just said hi. Stan, Joy, and Susan. Okay, I think we got everybody in. Ray and Mark. Okay, guys, it is awesome. So we're right at the next stage of this class. We did a shout out midway, right? We took a quick reset. Let's jump in further. Let's talk about seemingly a completely different topic. You know what? Let's talk about tree of knowledge of good and evil. Adam and Eve. It always goes back there. You know it. It always goes back to the Garden of Eden. Guess what they were doing in there? They were eating in Eden. That's what they were doing. In my hometown of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, there was a restaurant, not a kosher restaurant, but it was, the name of the restaurant was a chain called Eaton Park. Eaton Park. I don't know any deeper significance, but it reminds me of Gan Eden. So in Gan Eden, in paradise, Adam and Eve were told, from all the trees in the garden you may eat, but there's one tree that God says do not eat from, and that was the Eitz Hada'at Tov V'Ra, the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And what happens? They eat from the tree, obviously. And what happens? Their eyes became illuminated. They opened their eyes and they gained a measure of wisdom. And now they knew good and bad. Eitz Hada'at Tov V'Ra gave them the knowledge of good and bad. And Maimonides asks a question, the question of all questions, and he says, how can we fathom, how can we imagine that human beings would sin and they would gain? They would get rewarded. They gained a measure of wisdom that they didn't have before. How could we fathom this? The whole story doesn't make sense. They're told not to eat, and if you eat, you're going to get punished. They eat and they got rewarded. They got knowledge. Their eyes were illuminated. They became sophisticated. They knew good and bad and all that stuff. So what happened? Chayta niskar. You're rewarding a sinner. How does it make sense? And Maimonides says, no, it's not a reward. It's a punishment. Are you kidding me? You call this a reward? Let me explain. Maimonides says that before the sin, there was a duality in the universe. But it wasn't good and bad. It was truth and falsehood. True or false. There was a simple question that applied to everything in existence. Is it true or is it false? After the sin, we have another way of looking at things. Is it nice? Do we like it or we don't like it? Right? Good or bad? Which has nothing to do with true or false. Because something could be true and you might say, it's bad, I don't like it. Something could be false and you say, I like it, it's good. You see what that means? Yes? Are you with me on this? It could be fundamentally false, i.e., I'll define this soon, disconnected from a true source, and yet a person can say, I like it very much, it's good to me, it's good for me. Whereas a person might look at something true, something connected to its source, and say, I don't like it, it's bad. So they didn't gain wisdom, they lost sensitivity to the truth, and they applied another metric by which to view the universe, good and bad, which is completely subjective. So what is the objective labels that we can apply to the universe, that of true and false? What does it actually mean? So here we go. We're going to now dabble a little philosophy, a little Kabbalah. We're going to mix everything together in a nice potion, and poof, out will come hopefully an inspiring idea. So now let's get some Torah mixology going. Let's begin. So what is true? In Kabbalah, truth is defined in one way and one way only. It's true if it's plugged in to the source. And by source, I mean source with a big capital S. If it's plugged in to the source, it's true. If it's disconnected from the source, it is not true. So again, let me say it again. If something is connected to truth, to life, to the source, it's true. If it's disconnected, it is not true. Now, what constitutes connection or disconnection? A very simple metric also. How opaque, is this thing? How transparent is it to its source? In other words, when you look at a thing, what do you see? Do you see it, or do you see where it came from? If you see it, then it's getting in the way. And that means it's disconnected. That means it's seeing itself. That means it's not so true. That means it's false. If when you look at a thing, you see, that's created by God, then it's transparent. You're seeing the truth flow through it, and that means it is true. Does what I just said make sense? Yes? Sort of? Yes? Okay. I didn't get nods from everybody. I can't see everybody, but I didn't get nods from everybody. I'm going to do it very quickly one more time. Kabbalah says that something is true when it reflects its source. If it doesn't reflect its source, God, the source, then it has a measure of truth. If it stands opposite to God and says, no, I exist, I am the source of my own being, I don't know about anything else, then it's not so true. It's bespeaking something that is fundamentally not true, i.e. a falsehood. So, Kabbalah says that there are things that are objectively holy. When you look at them, you know one thing, this thing is godly, this thing is divine, and you see God through it. For example, I'll give you a simple example. A Torah scroll. A Torah scroll is Torah. When you look at a Torah scroll, you say, wow, God's wisdom. Guess what? A Torah scroll is transparent to God. When you look at it, you don't say, oh, cool, that's some parchment with some ink on it. I wonder what it says. I mean, maybe you say that if you don't know what it is, but if you know what a Torah is, you don't look at the material, the matter of it. You look at the energy within it. You look at what it represents and what it contains and what it stands for, and that is divine wisdom and divine instruction for humanity. So when you look at a Torah scroll, you don't see it, you see its source. That makes it aligned with truth, and that makes it holy. Something that when you look at it does not speak a divine truth. It says, I exist. That thing is not so true because it's telling a lie. It's saying that I, on my own, exist. I don't know any source beyond me, and that's not true, but that's what it says, and when you look at it, that's the energy that you get from it, and therefore it's a little bit more disconnected from truth. In Kabbalah, we call those elements klipa. Klipa means shell. Why is it called klipa, which means shell? Because what is a shell? A shell is a cover that conceals the fruit inside. Think about the shell or peel of a banana, or of an orange, or of a walnut, right? Or of an almond. You have different types of peels and different types of shells. Some are soft, some are hard. But no matter what type of shell or peel it is, when you look at that thing, you don't see what's inside, you see an exterior. And it's hiding on the truth of what's really growing inside. And the same thing is true with our physical world. So much of the world is in the category of klipa, shell. So much of the world doesn't immediately say, look at my source, I come from God. Much of the world, when you look at it, says, no, that's me. That's all this is. I'm just the shell. And that is not so holy, not so godly, not so true. Let's take a look at some sources. Here we go. The stories we shall, all puns intended. This comes from the Alter Rebbe, Rabbi Shneir Zalman of Liadi, the founder of Chabad. We just mentioned him before in his book, Likutei Torah. I'm going to read this. This is getting very Kabbalistic, or a little Kabbalistic. The klipot, shells, plural. Klipa, singular shell. Klipot are plural for shells. Klipot is plural for shells. The klipot dim and conceal the divine sparks from every angle, so that the divine light is no longer discernible in them to the extent that they appear to exist independently of God. Thus they are called klipot, for they are like a peel which wraps and encompasses the fruit contained inside it. In a similar fashion, the klipot, shells, conceal the divine sparks like an almond shell. The only way to extract the fruit is to break the shell. Likewise, to extract the sparks of holiness from the klipot that hide them, the klipot must be broken. What the Alter Rebbe is saying is when you look at most things that exist on planet Earth, you look at it, you see it, you don't see God. And if you see it, that means you're seeing a shell. Because inside that thing is divine life, is a soul that makes that heart beat, that makes that thing grow, that makes that thing exist. If you don't see the divine spark, it means you're seeing the shell. And that's the klipot. By the way, it's not a you thing, it's a me thing also. Trust me. This is an us thing. This is a human thing. We see shells. It sounds like a tongue twister. We see shells by the seashore and everywhere else. We typically see shells. We don't see inside the shells. We don't see divine light unless we crack it open. All right, next text. Here we go. Here we go. So what things are klipot? The Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, text 8a. I should mention, Tanya class tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Think different. Here we go, back inside. Klipa, the realm of the shell, includes any deeds under the sun that are all vanity and an affliction of the spirit, quoting Kohelet Ecclesiastes. Similarly, any word or thought that is not directed to God and His will and His service, or to His will and His service, is called klipa, is called shell. For this is the meaning of the term sitra achra, literally the other side, i.e. not on the side of holiness. The side of holiness, what makes something holy or what defines holiness? Here we go, here's a definition, is nothing but the indwelling and extension of God's holiness. In other words, a thing or an activity that is all about God is holy. When it's all about self, it's not holy. It's the other side, it's the shell. Now, God only dwells on that which is surrendered to Him. Anything, however, that does not surrender itself to God, but considers itself as if it is a thing separate unto itself, does not receive its life from the inner core of the holy emanating life force, but from its hind part, so to speak. So greatly diminished does the light and life force become, diminution after diminution, that it is able to become contracted and vested in a state of exile within that seemingly independent entity, giving it vitality and existence, giving it life and causing it to exist. I don't want you to get lost in what I'm saying. There's a lot of information here, but I want to keep it very simple, because it is. It's very simple. Kabbalah sets up a binary reality. Either you're expressing God or you're expressing self, and it's one or the other. Either it's for God or it's for other. That's it. That's it. There's no middle ground. It's either clearly for God, or clearly connected with God, or clearly about God, or the other side is it's about something else or someone else. So when you look at a table, and the table looks like a table, guess what? Not holy. Not holy in this definition. Why? It's klipa. Why is it klipa? What did the table do wrong? It didn't do anything wrong. It's not wrong or right. It's truth or falsehood. It's not good or bad. I already told you that before. It's not good or bad. That's Adam and Eve messed that up. That's a different construct. This is not about good or bad. We're not judging the table like can we be friends or not. This is a very simple question. Does it bespeak higher truth, or does it bespeak its own false reality? Because everything only exists because of God. When you look at a table, what do you see? Do you see God or do you see a table? If you see God, it's holy. If you see a table, unholy. Most things in this world do not proclaim on their own God. Most things and most activities within the universe, within planet Earth, fall into the category of klipa. Now, within klipa itself, there are two categories. There are things that are the shell is so thick that you need to stay away from those activities altogether, or from those items you have to stay away altogether, like non-kosher food, for example, we say belongs to the three impure shells. There are shells that can never be broken. You can never access the sparks inside. The shells are so impenetrable that you cannot get to the divine life force inside. I can't crack this nut. It's way too deep. It is way too deep to pull out the light. It's so concealed inside that I have to leave it. Most things, however, things that are not prohibited, fall into this middle category. They are not obviously holy because they don't obviously bespeak God's presence. They're not irredeemable, like the side of unholiness. They lie in the middle ground. When you look at them, they're not necessarily holy, but, and here's the big idea, you and I, through our actions, through our choices, through how we engage in this activity, or what we use that thing for, you and I can crack that shell. You can peel that peel and expose the truth, that this is connected with God. We can expose its truth and how it is a true thing. When you use a table to host a Shabbat dinner, or to enjoy a Shabbat dinner with yourself or your family, when you use your table to open up a Torah, a Chumash, a Talmud, or open up a laptop and study Torah, you are allowing the table to become reconnected with God in an obvious way. You're now using the table for something holy. And what does that do? That moves the table from the realm of unholiness to the realm of holiness. Again, what is holy? That which is obviously connected with God. What is unholy? Everything else. By us eating, we take food that is mundane, that is klipa, that is sitra achra. It's shell, it's the other side, it's unholy. It's not forbidden necessarily, but it's unholy, it's not holy. You take food when you eat it, and you energize yourself with that food, and then you use it to do a mitzvah or study Torah. You have now elevated the energy of that food for a higher purpose, and guess what? That connects it back to its source in the true source of life. And when you use a table to study Torah, you're elevating the table. And when you use your money, a part of your money, to give tzedakah, to give charity, guess what? All of the work that you've done, all of the work, the investment, the blood, sweat, and tears, all the education, the schooling that you had that allowed you to do this work, it all becomes elevated. Beforehand, it had nothing to do with God. It was all about self. Your education, your work, your money. Take a little bit and give it to tzedakah and everything shifts. The whole reality shifts. And now instead of being unholy or disconnected, it's now holy and connected because it obviously bespeaks its purpose, which is for positive things. So this becomes the purpose in life. The purpose in life is to take things that have shells on them and to peel shells, or to crack shells. You didn't realize that the whole of life could be summarized by the word nutcracker, like the musical. Musical? The Nutcracker? Yeah? Yeah, the whole purpose of life is to open up the shells, to peel the peels and expose the truth inside. And now we understand why Nachmanides and why the other great commentaries are so emphasizing this notion of Kadesh Atzmacha B'Mutarlach, which is sanctify yourself within the realm of the permissible. Because even though it's permissible, it's not holy. Just because the food is kosher doesn't mean it's holy. Holiness is defined by one metric. Does it bespeak God? Is it transparent to God? Or does it just look like itself? Like a thing, like a blob, like a piece of sushi? Or does it mean something higher? Who makes that determination? You and I. How we utilize a thing. How we utilize a thing determines its meaning, determines its definition. And so, my friends, this is why Nachmanides says we have to be careful even when it's permissible. We cannot be gluttonous in the realm of the permissible. You know why? Because if we're overindulging in materialism, permitted materialism, that's not holy. If it's not for God, it's not holy. It might be kosher, but that doesn't mean that it's holy. And the whole purpose of life is to elevate the mundane world around us and to make it holy. And the only way to do that is with restraint and self-control, and a word that I'll add right now, which is mindfulness. Mindfulness in this context means that as we engage in whatever activity we're engaged in, we're able to be aware of what exactly is going on. I have an opportunity right now to engage in this activity, this action, whether it's eating or drinking or working or exercising, whatever activity it is. And I have a choice. Am I going to do it just to do it? Which means living in the shell, disconnected, sitra achra, other side world, unholy? Or am I going to be mindful? Am I going to be aware of myself, my purpose, and the potential of that thing in front of me? And then I'm going to engage with that thing purposefully. The food I'm going to eat is going to be that which gives me the energy to do the next great mitzvah. And in that way, I'm not going to indulge, because I don't need to indulge to have the energy that I need to do something positive. And when I engage in it, it becomes a holy experience. So, what's the purpose in life? The purpose in life is Kedoshim, is to be holy. That's the purpose in life. And how do we be, which means connect with God and connect everything on this planet, unless it's forbidden. Connect everything on this planet with something higher, with its higher purpose. And how do we do that? By Kedoshim Tiyu, by being holy. How are we holy? By being holy, by living within moderation, by being mindful and not being indulgent. Indulgence is a sign of overboard, of disconnection from purpose. Be connected with purpose, be centered, be grounded, be mindful, be aware, be conscious, be connected, lift up yourself, lift up the thing that you're interacting with, and that is holiness. Hope that makes sense. All right, that's it for the lesson. Hope that made sense. Hope you are with me on this, on these ideas. And right now, what I'm going to do is the Nutcracker is a ballet. There we go. I'm getting corrected. Not a musical, a ballet. Honestly, for a guy like me, ballets and musicals, kind of the same genre. I'm not discounting it. I'm just saying, not an expert in either genre. Ballet, plays. I'm going to throw opera into this as well. 3 different things. To me, they're in a similar category. Let's call it a holy category. Now, let's feel free to unmute yourself, ask questions. But otherwise, hopefully you got what I was saying tonight, and hopefully it's inspiring. Oh, actually, hold on. Before we truly open up the mic, I just want to say this: the takeaway from tonight, because everything needs to have a practical message. The takeaway for tonight, what I would like you to think about is opportunities that you have in your life. Opportunities to live, number one, with a little bit more moderation. But really, the deeper meaning here is, of tonight's lesson is, God is in the details, right? There is no such thing as something small or irrelevant. It's not like, I'm eating a meal, it doesn't matter what happens now, I'm just eating. It's not just eating. No one's just eating. No one's just exercising. No one's just going to sleep. There's no on the precipice of holiness and unholiness. And the default setting on the natural world around us is unholy. Not evil, not bad. I didn't say that. I said unholy, disconnected, or at least in an apparent way disconnected. It doesn't look connected. And you and I have been tasked with a simple task, not easy, but simple, straightforward task. Take something that doesn't look holy and plug it into holiness. You demonstrate how this is holy. Take a table made of wood, made of trees, and learn some Torah on it. Take a coin that was earned with work through an education and give it to tzedakah and show how it's helping someone else out. Take the stuff around you, plug it in. Every detail is important. God is in the details. Everything that we do has the potential to make an objective difference in ourselves, in the world, and in destiny itself. All right, now we are open for questions and comments. Please go ahead, feel free to jump right in.
Rabbi Ari, this